Today I want to talk about something. Why is it that preppers are considered outcasts? It seems that with everything that's been going on in the past 2 months, it would make more and more sense for people to begin prepping. Although I believe that there are still some doubters, and I wanted to just make a video today to talk about why this is and why people who think this way aren't correct. So, if you go onto Google right now and you just type in "our dooms," you don't even have to finish the word, and some of the top results show you "are doomsday preppers crazy? Are doomsday preppers right? Are they in their bunkers? Are they insane? Are they mentally ill?" Essentially, people think that doomsday preppers are completely crazy. Now, there's a little clip here from an article that I took from The Guardian, and they talk about preppers as having strange apocalyptic beliefs. They say that we think a disaster could strike at any time, that overwhelming first responders and the social safety net would fail, that crisis could disrupt supply chains, causing scarcity and panic and social breakdown, that authorities would have to invoke emergency powers and impose police curfews. Essentially, they think that all we have is a bunch of crazy theories that mean nothing. I mean, have you been watching the last 2 months? There was scarcity, there was panic. Authorities in certain areas did have to invoke emergency powers and impose police curfews. So I don't know if all these theories are necessarily crazy. It seems like people want to believe that doomsday preppers are crazy because that's the easy thing to do. You make a few memes, you make a few jokes, haha. But I think that there's a difficult truth behind what we do, and I wanted to go over that with you guys. So in my mind, I believe that everyone is a prepper. If you have an emergency fund, you're prepping, right? If you have $3, $5, $6,000 saved up, you're prepping for an emergency. Now, is it prepping to the same level that a doomsday prepper might do? No, of course not, but you're still prepping. Do you have an insurance policy? That's prepping. Who in their right mind believes that their house would one day burn down or that their car might get robbed? Well, hopefully no one. But the truth of the matter is that we all have insurance policies to be prepared in a situation where our house does burn down or where our car does get robbed. Airlines are the biggest example of prepping, in my mind. Every aircraft has redundant systems. Aircrafts are designed so that if one thing fails, they have a backup system to take over, and if that backup system fails, they have a third system to keep going. And I think that most people appreciate, I sure know that I appreciate airlines having redundant systems and airplanes prepping for the worst possible outcome. So why is it not insane that people have emergency funds or insurance policies, or that airlines have redundant systems that are essentially along the lines of prepping? Because we all know every good prepper has backup plans and redundant systems. It just doesn't make sense to me. Is it because we deal with difficult truths? Is it because we believe that our system is not as secure as the average person might believe? It just doesn't make sense to me. I think that everyone in this world preps in some sort of fashion. Which takes me into preppers prepare for difficult truths. I believe that a lot of the scenarios that we prepare for, war, famine, economic collapse, these are scenarios that are uncomfortable to think about for the average human being. They don't want to accept that there are threats in this world that could make us vulnerable at any given moment. But the matter of the fact is that there are tons of threats on this very planet that, with a moment's notice, could crumble this security net that we have built up in our heads. I mean, think about it. Now, wherever you believe the virus came from, the matter of the fact is that it's a virus, and look at what it's done to our world. In the matter of a few months, we went from being able to go outside, sporting events were on, concerts were going, you were hugging people, seeing your families, and all of a sudden, now there's over 1 million cases of this thing. People are being locked down and shut down. There's nothing going on TV, and life is completely done a 180 upside down in a matter of a few months. Now, when we're talking about economic collapse or war, I think that those threats move even quicker than a virus. And I believe that facing these difficult truths prepares us for self-reliance at any given moment. And the fact that we are prepared and the fact that we face these difficult truths head on makes the average human uncomfortable because they don't want to think about those threats. That is at least why I believe most people think we're crazy. I mean, like I mentioned before, the emergency funds, the insurance policies, airlines, I could keep going on with example after example after example, but everyone preps. It's just a matter of what you prep for. If you look, the recent times, like I mentioned, the panic, any good prepper was prepared. We all had dry food. We all had hygienic supplies, and all we did was watch people scramble. And all of a sudden it wasn't too crazy to become a prepper because the panic was real. I watched people that would have never prepped a day in their lives go and stock up on toilet paper and meat and pasta, and you would have thought that they were, I don't know, preparing for the next year in terms of supplies. And I believe that the only reason that most people decided to start prepping was because the panic was real. And I think that's where the key difference is. The key difference is, again, we face the uncomfortable truth. We are proactive. And I believe that the average person is reactive to unfavorable situations. So essentially all I'm saying is that what we are prepared for, the average person doesn't take as a threat until the panic is too real. And then all of a sudden you get frenzy, and you get chaos, and you get rioting, and you get all those other nasty things. And I honestly believe that if every person, and I'm sure it's not realistic for every person, but if a majority of people within their means had some sort of stockpile, that we would have not seen lines across the block at Costco for people to get toilet paper. I think, preppers prep to be self-reliant in times where they need a stockpile of resources to survive. Preppers prep to protect their families and themselves against the people who are not prepared. And honestly, our goal is not to be a strain to anyone. Our goal is just to be self-reliant, it's to be independent, and it's to be able to survive through difficult situations. I don't think we're crazy or that we're outcasts. Everyone preps, as I mentioned earlier. We're just prepared for any possible situation. And in some situations, material backups like an insurance policy, like $10,000 in your savings fund, won't mean anything. Think about it this way. In a world where an economic collapse happened, or in a world where a famine happened, what would $10,000 really get you? I don't think it would get you a lot. I think at that point, a cow, food, strawberries, plants, vegetables would be worth more than the dollar. And that might just be my way of thinking, and you're free to disagree with that. I just believe that in a world where there's big collapse happening, money isn't going to be the answer for your survival. Because when there's limited supplies, people keep that stuff to themselves. And essentially what I wanted to do was just make a quick video here, at least as an introduction to my channel, to kind of try out a format to see what you guys thought of it. Now, one thing I did want to mention is, aside from the bullet points that you guys saw in this little presentation, I did not have any notes prepared for this video. Everything that I said was completely off the top of my head and from my heart. I believe that when it comes to these topics, there's a certain level of sensitivity and delicacy that people handle it with. And one of the things that I want to do on my channel is kind of give myself to be a voice for the prepping community. I feel like there's not a lot of people for us to talk to, and with that being said, it makes it hard to discuss things, to have someone to relate to. And rather than do fancy edits and make big glamorous videos, I want to make my videos more so a community style where, I take your comments, I take your feedback, I address it, essentially consider it a big hangout place where we all talk about things and, gather to discuss ideas. And I want it to be raw to a certain extent and not prepared and mapped out and done very concisely to the point where it seems artificial. But please subscribe and leave a comment. Let me know what you guys would like to see next. Thank you for watching.